Those are questions that I still have that we do not have answers. Like what happened in those 2 hours, because she didn't sound scared, mad, angry, sad.
3 people are arrested in connection to a fatal weekend shooting. We'll hear from the victim's family as the suspects await their court appearance.
This is the first time it's ever happened on the showroom. We've never had a car in 20 years taken off the floor.
2 cars are missing after a Middleton dealership is robbed. The reaction from the owner as police search for suspects.
And demanding a safer workplace, what local nurses say needs to be done to improve conditions at Meriter Hospital. That is all coming up on News 3 Now at 10. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Sarah Carlson.
And I'm Eric Franke. 3 people are in custody in connection to the fatal shooting of a 14-year-old Evansville girl over the weekend.
Police and paramedics were called to a home on South Madison Avenue on Sunday morning. The 14-year-old was given first aid and taken to a hospital where she later died. Family members identified her as Florencia Henthorn. Our Maddie Heimsch has more from the investigation and from the victim's parents, who say they spoke to their daughter just hours before she died.
14-year-old Florencia Henthorn was found in this house behind me Sunday morning with a gunshot wound to the head. She died later that day in the hospital.
She just loved everybody. Her family and friends meant everything to her.
Her life ending just a month shy of her 15th birthday.
She was looking forward to it because that was her quinceañera.
Florencia's mother tells me she spoke with her daughter the morning of her death.
She didn't sound scared, mad, angry, sad, nothing. She sounded normal. I asked her if she was safe. She said yes. Yes, of course, I'm good.
Never giving her parents any indication that anything was wrong.
If she ever felt scared or anything, she would call me. She never called me.
Tuesday afternoon, 26-year-old Hunter Dreyfall, 20-year-old Alyssa Aarons, and 44-year-old William Dreyfall were arrested in connection to the death. Hunter Dreyfall and Aarons both facing 1 count of contributing to delinquency of a minor causing death and several counts of sex crimes against a child.
She never told me nothing at all in relation to the girl or the guy that was there or nothing.
According to the criminal complaint, Florencia had been staying with Hunter Dreyfall for about a week before her death. At some point before the shooting Sunday morning, there was an argument about selling sexual videos he and Aarons made with the 14-year-old girl. Dreyfall and Aarons gave conflicting stories about the shooting.
Well, she was pretty open with us and would, for the most part, tell us at least who she was with, and she never told us about these people.
Her parents say friends and family will remember Florencia for being smart, outgoing, and protective of those around her.
She was known for always trying to make everybody feel included.
But instead of celebrating the woman she was becoming, they'll now be remembering who she was.
She wanted the big dress. She was looking forward to that.
Reporting in Evansville, I'm Maddie Heimsch, News 3 Now.
A GoFundMe has been set up to help the family pay for funeral expenses. So far, it's raised over $10,000, already reaching the initial goal.
More than a year after a Milwaukee mother was sent to prison for chronic child neglect, her boyfriend learned his punishment. Joel Menke will spend 10 years in prison for keeping 2 children inside a Milwaukee home once described as a house out of a horror movie. He claims he didn't realize the state of his home in July of 2023 was neglectful. Prosecutors described the state of Menke's home, where a 7- and 9-year-old were locked inside of a bedroom with boarded up windows.
Mr. Menke told officers at one point that he put up the boards so that the kids wouldn't bother the neighbors, and admitted that Katie uses the latch on the door to keep the kids locked in the room, to keep them from wandering, and blamed it on the kids' autism.
Investigators say the room was infested with feces, insects, rodents, and trash. The mother of the boys, Katie Koch, is also serving a 10-year sentence for this case. Prosecutors say the boys are now in a fully staffed foster home.
Now to a look at our forecast. Snow showers could be on the way for southern Wisconsin. Chief Meteorologist Alex Harrington tells us about our chances for flurries. Alex?
Eric, yeah, some changes with our weather models are indicating we might be a bit on the cooler side tomorrow. Maybe not mid 40s, but maybe upper 30s to near 40, and then cooling in the evening. And it's because of that we're seeing an increased chance for some slushy snow, especially, let's say, Camp Douglas down to Lone Rock to Monroe, Janesville, Madison, and areas off towards the north and towards the east. This changeover would be during the Wednesday evening commute, which isn't the best timing. Now, while I'm not expecting significant accumulations, we could have briefly reduced visibilities as this turns over to wet snow and at some times during that evening commute. And while most roads at this point in time look like they're going to be wet because we got warm surfaces, just take it easy. Just a heads up first to let you know that that mix could change over to wet snow for a brief period of time Wednesday evening. But by the time we get to Friday, the sun comes out, any slushy accumulations on grassy surfaces, that will melt. And I still promise you that we will be much warmer by the time we get to the weekend. Coming up in Maine weather, we're going to use future track to show you when that rain may change over to snow and again outline the areas that have the best chance for that slushy snow Wednesday evening.
Alex, thank you. 2 cars are missing after being stolen from a used car lot in Middleton early Sunday morning.
Our Merrill Hubbard reports from Shep Motors to show us what happened.
The stolen silver Corvette and black Dodge Hellcat have put Shep Motors out of about $150,000. The owner of the shop, who's been in the business for more than 45 years, says he's never had cars stolen off of the showroom floor.
I mean, there's a reason why they call it Grand Theft Auto.
He says the suspects got in through the back door.
They toured around the building and found a window, busted it with a rock, reached in, opened it up.
Around 2 a.m. Sunday morning, 2 suspects broke into Shep Motors. Surveillance videos show them looking for keys and trying to get a Corvette C8 into gear before giving up. The owner says they broke into an office and stole 5 sets of keys. They then pull out of the dealership with a 2016 silver Corvette Z06 and 2023 black Dodge Hellcat. Later footage shows the suspects burning rubber and doing donuts on Tribeca Drive. They then drive off with the 2 cars around 4:30 a.m., about 2 hours after the break-in.
To steal the cars, high-performance cars, and do donuts and get away with it, very hard to swallow.
Doug Shep says he was about to sell the silver Corvette.
One of the cars stolen was actually paid for by a customer who was going to pick it up yesterday and actually fly in from out of state. So that hurts. I feel sorry for that customer.
Now Doug and his team are adding pedal locks to all their remaining cars and have hidden the keys away in a safe.
It's an eye-opening experience and a very good learning experience, and it will never happen again.
He's asking people to be on the lookout for the 2 cars.
Everybody needs to be aware of it.
The Middleton Police Department tells me they're still investigating this incident, and if anyone has any information about these suspects or the cars that were stolen, to contact Madison area Crime Stoppers. Reporting in Middleton, Merrill Hubbard, News 3 Now.
Thank you, Merrill. The Middleton Police Department says that the suspects also took several Wisconsin license plates. As of now, none of the stolen items have been recovered, and Crime Stoppers tipsters can receive up to $1,000 in cash rewards for tips that lead to an arrest that can remain anonymous.
Today, Meritor nurses held what they're calling a strike-ready rally to demand improved safety and security practices. Now, this isn't the first time Meritor nurses have called for improved safety and wages. They've been in negotiations since January, but on March 16th, the contract was up, and now the union heads back to the table tomorrow.
We have to find ways to make that work environment better so people will come back to the hospital. Otherwise, when you're sick, you're not going to have the availability of nurses.
According to SEIU, Wisconsin's president, nurses are required to give a 10-day notice to Meritor before striking to allow the hospital to find staffing for patient care. At this time, Meritor says it has not received such a notice.
Drugs used for diabetes and weight loss could be the key to curbing dementia, of all things. 2 studies published in the Journal of the American Medical Association Neurology suggest that the class of diabetic drugs, including Ozempic and Wegovy, can protect against dementia. Now, one of those studies found the drugs cut the risk by 45%. Both analyzed diabetes patients who were using these drugs in 2014. More research will need to be done to see what the effects may be on people without diabetes.
What we're seeing is there's this underlying mechanism of damage to blood vessels, inflammation, which is what's driving many of the chronic diseases we see, whether that's heart disease, kidney disease, damage to the brain, which can lead to stroke or dementia. So it makes sense that these medications may potentially have this effect.
Now, this comes as the Trump administration rejects a Biden administration proposal to expand coverage to Medicare for these drugs, leaving many Americans to continue paying out of pocket.
Residents in Dane County now have quick access to life-saving medications. A new effort by Dane County, SSM Health, UW Health, and UW-Madison aims to increase access to naloxone and other items by placing harm reduction vending machines outside 2 hospitals. The machines can be found at SSM Health St. Mary's Hospital on South Park Street and the UW Hospital's Emergency Department on Highland Avenue. The machines will be monitored and restocked by emergency management staff.
Well, a popular summer fixture will soon return to downtown Madison. The Madison Market will be back on May 8th. Coming soon. It's the first of 5 scheduled for this year and will feature local vendors, live music, and food trucks. Each market will have its own theme, so May 8th will be celebrating UW-Madison as it falls just 2 days before commencement. For a list of the other themes and market dates, you can find this story on channel3000.com. Coming up at 10, the Supreme Court makes a ruling on the Trump administration's deportation efforts.
And new tariffs are set to be imposed on China. The worries from investors as the Far Eastern power vows to fight to the end.
You're watching News 3 Now at 10.
Welcome back. President Trump is set to impose a 104% tariff across all Chinese imports tomorrow.
And the president says his administration is doing, quote, very well in early negotiations with trade partners. He added that South Korea and Japan are heading to Washington for meetings. But on Wall Street, stocks stumbled again, the Dow falling some 320 points as markets reacted to the president making good on his threat to punish Beijing unless it withdraws retaliatory tariffs against the U.S.
It was a mistake for China to retaliate. The president, when America is punched, he punches back harder.
The tariffs are on, and the money is pouring in at a level that we've never seen before. And it's going to be great for us.
Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are expressing concerns about the economic impact of the tariffs, but some U.S. businesses are seeing some positives. In Mississippi, for example, shrimpers say tariffs on imported seafood could level the playing field.
And as these tariffs send shockwaves through the global markets, the next big impact could be on consumers' bottom lines. Some experts say the first place where consumers could feel the sweeping tariffs would be at the grocery store, especially in the produce aisle because fresh fruits and vegetables have high turnover. And many household favorites require some supply from abroad.
Have a look at where each of the grocery items you're buying came from. Where did the avocados come from? Where did the vegetables come from? Where did your pasta come from? And a lot of it came from abroad.
At big box retailers, the Consumer Technology Association estimates current retail inventories of items like laptops and tablets will last about 3 to 4 months. That underscores why economists are concerned about how broad tariffs could pinch consumer spending, businesses, and the U.S. economy overall.
The Department of Health and Human Services and the Environmental Protection Agency are joining forces to study and make new recommendations on fluoride. The new review centered around a report the National Toxicology Program released back in August. It concluded that higher levels of fluoride are linked to lower IQs in children, while another study from the Cochrane collaboration found adding the mineral to tap water leads to slightly fewer cavities in children's baby teeth. The CDC still supports fluoride as a safe and effective way to maintain dental health.
The Supreme Court says the Trump administration can temporarily use the Alien Enemies Act for deportations. The ruling throws out a U.S. district judge's order, but the Supreme Court says the men involved in the case can challenge the use of the Alien Enemies Act. They just have to do so in the district where they're detained. This comes after ICE sent alleged Venezuelan gang members to an El Salvador prison while legal challenges were still playing out.
They actually, as a practical matter, can get to the courts and not be whisked away in the middle of the night like was originally done in this case.
Another ruling from the Supreme Court involves a Maryland man erroneously deported to El Salvador. The justices say the U.S. does not have to bring him back for now. The White House claims that erroneous deportation was due to an administrative error.
Residents in Kentucky are grappling with historic flooding, the result of deadly storms that slammed parts of the South and Midwest earlier this week. Officials say the Kentucky River hit its second highest level on record in Frankfort, just shy of the record set way back in 1978. The Kentucky National Guard has joined emergency crews in recent days, rescuing residents from their flooded homes. Flood warnings in the city remain in effect due to high water levels.
We need people to wait this out. In many places, we've seen the rivers crest and the flooding will be going down. So please do not drive through either standing or running water. Turn around. Don't drown.
National Weather Service says also a freeze watch of all things is in effect for much of Kentucky tonight. Here in the Madison area, some snow may be on the way. Alex is also looking at other precipitation totals by the morning hours.
Yes, Eric, what's changed is we've seen our weather models, when I'm going to put this into motion here, showers start off in the morning, and then what's changing here is a greater potential that we may start to mix that rain in with snow from a little bit more widespread across the area. Could even see a thunderstorm too around the lunch hour. Watch us what happens here in the afternoon as we get into 3-4 o'clock. Colder air from higher up comes down towards the surface, cooling us down, and that brings that rain mixing with or changing over to wet snow at times, especially, let's say, from the Dells to Madison to Janesville and areas off towards the east. We will be keeping a close eye on this. And then as we head towards 6-7 o'clock, again, this is during the rush hour, Madison and areas to the east still potentially mixing with or have completely changed over to wet snow. Now, the silver lining is we'll likely have wet roads, we have warm surfaces, we have grassy surfaces, so anything that falls to the ground will likely mostly be on grassy surfaces, but if it does come down at a rate fast enough and heavy enough, we could see a little bit of slushiness on some of those roads until it has a chance to melt. Then we have a brief break Wednesday night, but as we go into Thursday, more showers and possibly mixing in with a couple of wet snowflakes as we go into Thursday morning, going on into Thursday afternoon, especially for areas west of Madison as this weather system kind of meanders over the state of Wisconsin. Overall water amounts, well, this is the plus side. We need the water. Widespread quarter to half inch, but there'll be a narrow area, likely right across the center part of the WISC viewing area, where we could be seeing a ½ inch to 3/4 of an inch of water. We'll take the water because, again, some parts of the area are dealing with drought conditions. The best chance right now of that slushy snow mixing with or briefly changing over to all wet snow as we go into the Wednesday evening commute. That's from Camp Douglas down to Lone Rock to Monroe and Janesville. It includes Madison, Columbia County over towards Dodge and Jefferson counties, and Elkhorn, and then over towards Milwaukee. Jacob will have an update in the morning with the latest weather indications on where that may set up. Hopefully the snow is a bust, meaning hopefully we don't get that wet snow at all, and we just keep this all in the form of rain because we'll, again, take the water drops here. But if that changes over, as weather models are indicating, this could impact the Wednesday evening commute. That could result in some briefly reduced visibilities, and while roads, again, may mostly be wet, the falling snow, reduced visibilities, just be heads up. You want to take it a little bit easy during that Wednesday evening commute. Now, speaking of snow, not expecting this, but flashback to 1973. Tomorrow is the peak of when that occurred back in 73, where we had 12.9 inches of snow at the Madison airport. 30s tonight with clouds on the increase. Our temperatures likely going to be cooler tomorrow than the 40s, possibly just in the upper 30s to right around 40. And the good news is once we get past the slushy snow potential Wednesday, that's all going to melt because we got warm stuff on the way. By the time we get to the weekend, look at that. Temperatures in the mid-60s.
And still to come in sports, when Mark Johnson wants to win, he does it. Just look at his 8 national championship trophies, not to mention his gold medal. I'll tell you what he's tackling next off the ice. Next on News 3 Now. Wisconsin football is in what Luke Fickell likes to call the dog days of spring ball. Practice 8 of 15, where there is a light at the end of the tunnel, but you just have to keep pushing to get to where you want to be. And being a Badger is what Billy Edwards Jr. wants to be. He's 3 months into his time at UW, and Wisconsin's new QB1 is embracing the change and making the most of his final opportunity.
To know that this is my last season, and to be at a place like Wisconsin that's this special, and to have the special people in our building, all the way from the head coach down to our janitors that come in, when we're done practicing and whatnot, it makes it all the more better, for me to just come out here and give these guys in the locker room and give this facility my all, and try to live with no regrets. That's been my biggest thing. It's just every day I'm given an opportunity, whether it's an off day, whether it's a Saturday, a Sunday, just to make the most of it.
Mark Johnson was an up-and-coming hockey star at Memorial High School when he was 17 years old, the same year that he met his wife, Leslie. She has been following him around with his legendary hockey career ever since, all around the world. But now the coach says it is her time to pursue her passions. That's why today they broke ground on the Agape Ranch, a place where kids struggling with anxiety and depression can heal through working with horses. It's a way for the Johnsons to serve others while fulfilling a dream of Leslie's.
My thought process was, we've done hockey for a long time. She sort of followed me around, whether I was playing or whether I'm coaching now. And, why doesn't she do something that, she loves to do? So how can we connect horses with what, maybe can helpful for the community? So, whatever's going on in your world, once you come on the property, you can let that down. And then, through even as simple as walking around the property or whatever that we can do to help them out and, give them space where they can start to heal and create hope in their lives.
But that doesn't mean he's leaving Wisconsin anytime soon. The Bucks back home looking for their 5th straight win, and the Timberwolves led by 24 points at a point in the 4th. The Deer, though, didn't take a dive, leading by 1 in the 4th, and Kevin Porter Jr. turns defense into offense, making it a 3-point lead. And then later, it's KPJ again, this time finding Giannis for the lob. Milwaukee outscored Minnesota 40-13 in the 4th and come back to win it 110-113. The Brewers have had their struggles this year, looking to get over 500 for the first time. But this guy, Bryce Durang, has been as solid as they get. He's got at least 1 hit in each of the Crew's 10 games, and Durang make it an 11-game hit streak as the Crew cruise past the Rockies 7-1. We'll be right back.
Well, finally tonight we do have some breaking news out of Madison. Police are investigating after a shooting at a local Quick Trip.
Officers say this happened at the location on Buckeye Road. Several callers reported hearing 3 gunshots. Police say when officers arrived, both the suspects and victims had already fled the scene.
One unrelated vehicle was struck by gunfire. There you see a look at the scene. So far, no injuries have been reported. Madison police say the investigation is ongoing. And Alex is here as we take one final check of the forecast.
Yes, our focus really is, let's go right to the graphics right there. We're tracking a chance of slushy wet snow during the Wednesday evening commute. So this is a first heads up that while we do expect mostly rain on Wednesday going into Thursday, there is that window of opportunity of slushy wet snow during that commute. As it comes down, you're just going to want to take it easy, expecting most roads to be wet. And if we get any snow accumulation, will likely be on grassy surfaces.
And hopefully the last one.
And hopefully the last one.
And thanks for joining us, folks. Have a good night.